Hi folks, Six Slices here. Now I've got a lovely little knife here for you today. Now it's by Cheburkov, and I've often kind of thought of Cheburkov as being the sort of poor relation to Cheburkov. But this one I particularly like, and to start with, when it's closed, you might wonder why I'm so much of a fan of it, but I am. Now, first of all, it's a titanium frame lock flipper, which is kind of nothing remarkable in that. It's well done. It's got some really nice milling across the flats here, and then it's smooth across these angled surfaces, which is just looks quite attractive. It's a kind of a slightly bronzy colour. It's quite a small flipper tab. It's not too intrusive. I'm not desperately enamoured of the lanyard loop, which is part of the backspacer. I don't know. It's just aesthetically, it just jars with me a little. I mean, they have incorporated it into the shape of the knife, so it's not all bad. But that's probably the thing. If I had to criticise anything, that would be the one I would criticise. On the other side, we have a milled clip, which again has some nice machining to it, nice shaping to it. It's also it is slim, which it's almost like a steel spring clip, which, to be honest, is usually my favourite because it works well. But this one works well, and it's machined, which I suspect is a kind of unnecessary but very welcome piece of attention to detail. It is, of course, right hand only, but being a frame lock, I think you either have to have your frame lock left-handed, or it really is a right-handed thing. Putting the clip on the other side doesn't really change very much, in my estimation. Anyway, now a couple of other things. The bugbear that I always have is that the relief is cut on the outside, whereas I always think it should be on the inside, where it would be less obtrusive. We have a steel inserted frame lock here, and that steel insertion is also the over travel stop, which I don't know if you'll be able to quite see it, but it's just level with that screw. You can sort of see between the gap between the locking bar and the handle. There's a domed screw there. I don't know why. I would have thought if you were going to go to all the bother of doing all this lovely machining, a wee countersunk screw wouldn't have been too much. We have a relatively small pivot, again bronzed, but more of a shiny bronze, whereas the rest of it's more of a matte bronze. Now, but if I'm criticising the lanyard ring, I'm criticising the cutout, and I'm criticising this screw. Now, none of them are major problems. They're just things that are there. But why do I like this knife so much? Well, there's two reasons. Firstly, because despite being a really small knife and having a tiny flipper tab, it has a great flipping action, and that is no small feat. Anybody who's been watching my channel will know I am rubbish at flipping knives, but this one flips with with panache. You know, it really it's an action worthy of a Cheburkov. It genuinely is. The other reason is that this blade is just a beautiful design. Really, really smart. It's, as I say, it's not a big knife. It's a kind of San Mai knife. I don't know what the steels are, unfortunately. I should, but I can't see them written on the blade anywhere. You've got a core steel here, which has this sort of acid wash on it, and really nice sharp edge. And then on the outside, it's clad with this Damascus with a fairly unassuming pattern. It's really, layers of steel that are almost parallel, which to me is just a really nice way of doing it. I sometimes find, well, I'm not a big fan of Damascus as a rule, as you'll all know, but if you're going to have a Damascus, this is a good way of doing it. It actually gives it, as far as I can see, that structure is going to give it more strength, as well as being attractive. And it certainly is attractive. The shape of the blade is lovely. I don't know whether you could quite call that a clip, or whether it's just a drop point. I don't know. I mean, it probably is a clip, because there is a sort of an angle here. It's almost a flat grind. You've obviously got a little bit of flat up here, which is useful if you were to come to sharpen it, because it's a nice knife. You wouldn't want to muck it up with a dodgy bit of sharpening. We've got talking of sharpening, we have a sharpening choil, but we also have here the flipper tab. When it's folded, is really quite small, but when you open it up, you've got this really nice curved section here, which has a jimping on it, and we've got a bit of jimping on the back of the blade. So that means that, this being quite a small knife, you have a good opportunity to choke up really quite far, giving you a reasonable amount of knife in the hand. Or you can go behind the flipper tab, and it gives you a little bit more reach. Either way, this jimping on the top, I personally think it's superfluous, but nonetheless it's there if that's what you want. But I like this finger choil at the bottom. It doesn't really lose as much in the way of blade cutting edge, because this is really below the pivot, not cutting a bit off the blade. So I think that's just lovely, and it's just really nicely done. We've got a lock up about, say, 25%, which is ideal. There's plenty of room for it to wear a little bit, but it's perfectly solid at the point at which it is. We also, incidentally, when on the back of the handle here, where the flipper tab goes, we've got some nice machining in there, just to give you a little bit of extra room, which I think helps with the flipping action. When you are pushing it, you've got a small tab, but that little area just gives you a little bit more depth, so that you've got a little bit more movement on the blade. Now, markings on this knife, there's a date here, which is 2021, which is the year it was made, and on this side we just have the Cheburkov logo, and as far as I can see, there isn't anything else on this knife. Now, I've been looking at it quite thoroughly, because I was wondering what the steel. Oh, that's something, incidentally. I don't know if you can see that there, but the back of the blade, you can really see the difference between the stone washed core and the not stone washed outer steel. Beautifully crowned too. I mean, this is just a classy little knife. Obviously it runs on ball bearing pivots, because you know, just to give it that action, but it's, you know, it's so smooth and so positive that even though it's a really small knife, but I keep whittering on it about it being small. Let me show you. This is the small Sebenza 31s, and if you put the two together, you will see, actually smooth that down a bit, that they're almost exactly the same size. In terms of cutting edge, you'll see what I mean about the finger choil. The Sebenza may have a millimetre more of cutting edge, but that's really because of the sharpening choil, not the finger choil. The reason that you get this finger choil in here is because it's replacing this sort of spike on the Sebenza handle with the finger choil instead. That ended more abruptly than I was expecting, but thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next time.